Jesse here with Vault Sound Solutions. How's it going this evening? Tonight we're going to be cleaning and looking at the thermal paste and capacitors on the Kicker Si200 old school amplifier. This is a little bit of a unique design. It has a clamshell, a dual cast clamshell. And these Allen screws are down here a little bit, so I'm going to have to use this longer Allen key set, the big clumsy one, to get these guys out. I have not tested this amplifier yet. Once we get the insides looked at and cleaned up, we'll go ahead and test it. I did clean it off a little bit on the outside. I haven't took any alcohol to it or cleaning solution yet. I just dusted it off. Once we get these screws taken out, we'll flip it over, and I believe the bottom half comes off. I could be incorrect, but I believe that's how this amplifier is disassembled. I'm also going to remove the little crossover control card so that does not get damaged during the splitting of the case. If you guys have any inputs or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or go ahead and notify me in the live stream. Either way it works. Not quite ready to come out yet. This will be a Class AB 2-channel amplifier. It's a little crossover module they have. We'll end up cleaning these switches and cleaning this module off in a little bit. Yes, this amplifier, I recall now, it has jumper leads over on this side. Wires are pretty stiff that they're using there. Let me see if I can get a better angle. Alright, this should be the inside of this Kicker Si200 amplifier. Looks like everything's in decent order. It looks like there is a darker mark on this wire here, whether it's got pinched or something happened there. I can see that. We'll take a peek and see if there's any discrepancies inside this board. We're going to need to get a nut driver to go ahead and get this circuit board off so we can look at all the thermal pads underneath. I will probably end up applying thermal paste underneath there. Sorry about the bad angle. This is a rather unique amplifier to work on. I'm not going to pull the pre-drive board out. If we do notice, the pre-drive board has metal can transistors and some of the circuitry there. It looks like that's for the preamp. That's rather nice there. Yeah, both the sides there have the metal can transistors. Those are rather old school. Let me go ahead and grab the nut driver for these, and we'll go ahead and get the power board off and see about cleaning some of these thermal paste or the pads. Oh, wrong size, okay. A little smaller than what I was thinking, it's all good. See if we have this one around. Yeah, okay, there we go. Sorry about the angle of the camera there, so you can get you in focus a little better. And there, I gotta remember to check these chats first time being live. Hi Todd, how's it going this evening? Thank you for stopping by. Figured we'd try out the live stream, see what this is all about. Wasn't too bad to set up. I appreciate you stopping by. We're just going to go through here and check this amplifier out a little bit. It's an old school. Clean some thermal paste off, make sure nothing's out of play, nothing looks too far gone. There's a little bit of corrosion on the RCAs, but we'll go ahead and try to clean those up a little bit as well. It's kind of like the old school sound digital amplifiers. That's what kind of the style of clamping the transistors reminds me of. Thank you, Todd. Alright, so now I'm not going to be crazy and just lift this amp up. We're going to get a little flathead in here and try to pry the individual transistors up. This has been on this board for quite some years, and it's pretty stiff. I try not to damage the board or damage anything, so we'll grab a screwdriver out of here. See if I can't get these at a little 45 of angle. Yeah, there we go. Just barely budging them, just enough to break them loose from the thermal pads. Don't want to put stress on these legs or anything. Also try not to damage the thermal pads in the process. Alright, we're going to scoot underneath here. It's okay if there's not too much traffic, it's good. It'll come in time, little by little. I do appreciate it though, Todd. We're going to try to scooch underneath here and get these transistors out. It's kind of an odd angle, or these transistors detached rather. I might end up having to perform a little percussive maintenance and try to tap them laterally and get them detached. This is coming off pretty good so far, we'll see. They have the bias transistors right on top of the power transistors for the thermal coupling, and I'm trying not to mess those up at all. That's a tricky one. This is a good one for the first live stream. Got to get in here and pop all these off. I don't want to have to desolder the board and pull it off manually, so we'll just keep chugging along little by little. Got the first row off. Second row still stuck on really good. Trying to get underneath here on this side. Sorry if you guys don't see the best angle. I'm working with what I got here. Set that back down just a hair. Try to get these other transistors on this side off the board as well. And these are stuck on there pretty good, but it is what it is. There we go. Okay, that relieves that side of the board pretty good. Still got a couple more here, either for the power supply for the preamp or This may be some drive components. I haven't looked at this particular spot on the board yet. Or if we can get in there with some pliers and try to get these guys happy. Yeah, they're stuck pretty good. Let's see what else we can do. Absolutely in there. Let's see if we can get to, let's keep messing with it little by little. Not a standard design. There we go, that one's broken loose. It's definitely a unique model here. That one's broken loose. Now I think there's two more down the way here as well. Yes, there is. Good thing this doesn't have surface mount components on the opposite side. I'd be in for some fun. Flip this back over and see if we can't keep working from this side. Yeah, I was thinking that too, Todd. You're thinking about taking it right here on the tip or on the metal tab somewhere, and then just a little percussive maintenance, trying to dislodge it. Yeah, I thought about that as well. The screwdrivers should fit underneath this board pretty good. I think that will be the next step here. See if we can just hit them a little bit, get them. I know exactly what you're talking about there. Yeah, just trying to find a way around it, but there's really not much of a way on these boards. And then if I hold my finger here up next to the screwdriver, I can feel when the screwdriver is moving ever so slightly. That's why I like to keep my hand there. That way I know I'm not just being crazy with it and whacking it for no reason. Let's see how far we've gotten so far. Still a couple stuck underneath there. It's okay. Little by little. Oh, no SD card. Oh well, doesn't need one. It's doing a stream. I might have to pop one in there just so it's happy later, but it's okay. Using a GoPro with a HDMI capture card. It's working okay. Alright, looks like these are coming up now little by little. Still there's one back there that's... There we go. Yeah, there we go. Getting there. There we go. It's all part of it. There we go. A lot of those thermal pads stuck down, but nothing's damaged, which is good. A little bit of time, but it's okay. Get some of these tools out of the way so we can work a little cleaner for the time being. Yeah, I think there's a couple. The audio art amplifiers, I think, also had the same clamp down transistors. I could be wrong. Could be wrong on that. Yeah, these are just absolutely dry in here. I'm holding by the microphone, so they're definitely seen better days. I have some replacement thermal pads that I'll use. We'll cut to length. Still has quite a bit of life left in the thermal pad here. I'm going to have to order some bulk thermal pads. I wonder if I can get in the rolls. I typically don't have to replace them too often. They use different styles, but this one here we will replace. We're going to move the heatsink out of the way. It's a nice cast piece. Cast aluminum. We'll end up cleaning that separately so we don't have to worry about it leaking all the extra debris down on the circuit board. Now these thermal pads are actually leaving a film on the transistor here. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see there. So we're going to go ahead and clean these transistors off. Was it necessary? Not for sure, but I do know it's preventative maintenance, and they're not making these guys no more, so a little bit of time is gonna give a good peace of mind to make sure this thing should live a longer life. It looks like it's using, I don't want to really fold these transistors up, so I'll try to get a sneak peek from the side, but it's using 3 of them push, 3 of them pull per channel. So it does have a little bit of power behind it. I'd like to bet these are just 44 ends for the power transistors. These are like paper. Maybe it's just the old school way they made these, I'm not sure. But we'll get it fixed up. Little tub, a little bit of alcohol, and a couple cotton swabs. Let's see, what do we got here? Rectifiers, we'll put these back down. These would be the power transistors, and the thermal pads want to stick to the transistors. Okay, so the thermal pads look like they've separated. We'll see about getting these off. This might be a fun one here. But we'll poke at it for some more. A little bit of time is okay. If it takes a little bit longer, that's fine, as long as it's done right. So these do have the adhesive from the previous thermal pads on them. I think what we're going to do is grab the hot air gun and heat this adhesive up a little bit and try to work it off. Because all these transistors have the adhesive, I don't want to have a second coat of adhesive on there. I feel like it would not be beneficial. Yeah, that's taking care of that. A little bit of time. A little bit of time and some heat. Crank up the airflow on the hot air gun and heat up a few at a time. That's just going to be a little bit of time, but it's okay. I wonder if there's a better way to get the adhesive off of these chips. I do have paint thinner, but I don't really want to drop paint thinner on an old school circuit board. A little bit of heat. I'll keep poking at it. I can't grab the edge and peel it. It just deteriorates from what I'm seeing here. Not too fancy of a repair, just a update rather. We're just cleaning. Yeah, the heat and the alcohol seems to be removing this. It's just a little bit of time. Shoot, I wonder what year this amplifier was produced. I'd have to look it up online. Probably early 90s. 92, 94, maybe later. little bit of just tedious work, but it's okay. The got a few other amplifiers I'll end up having to work on here shortly, and once I get some parts in, I'll probably just end up doing live streams on those, since this wasn't half as hard to set up as what I thought it was going to be. Thought I was going to have 4 hours trying to set up verifications or a stream key or something crazy, but it wasn't bad. You can tell the difference here in the transistors, possibly from the video. The ones that I've cleaned there are quite a bit shinier, and the ones here have the film on them still. So I'm going to try to clean these without heat. Maybe it's just a little bit of elbow grease, and the adhesive will come off. I don't know if it necessarily needed the heat. We'll see if it did or didn't. I don't know, we'll keep going. So far it seems to be working just fine without the heat, so I figured the heat would loosen up the adhesive a little bit. Yeah, on the old school amps, there's not really any way to get more power out or modify. I mean, for any amplifier for that matter. When the amplifier is built, it's pretty much built how it is. You're not going to add extra chips or do anything crazy. I have heard of people rewrapping the transformers, toroidal transformers, so that they work better to 4 ohm load. The amplifier produces its output at a higher impedance. I guess one example would be if the amplifier is rated down to 2 ohms and the real voltage was 35, they'll unwind a couple coils and try to get it up around 37 or 45 volts or something, trying to push them a little harder and get some more power out of them. But I don't mess with any of that stuff at all. I just heard of it. The one thing you can do that I have played with a little bit, you can get higher end components with better tolerances and replace stuff in the signal path in the Class AB amplifiers. You can take the capacitors out and get like B stock avionics capacitors, or like aerospace stuff, like glass capacitors, crazy stuff. Depends on how far you want to go. And then also from for some of the sound quality amps, from my understanding, you can series parallel components. So if you're running a 1 UF capacitor, you could run actually 4 1 UF capacitors. You could run 2 in series and 2 in parallel with each other, and then that'd give you the same overall capacitance, and it takes some of the variation and the tolerance out, from my understanding. And of course, you could do larger arrays. I guess the series parallel was for resistors rather. The capacitors, you just need to have a bunch of them in parallel. So if you're looking for a 10 UF component, you would put 10 single UF, 1 UF capacitors in parallel. Yeah, there's not making more power to it. I mean, for very specific cases, you can modify a little bit. Man, I guess if you really want to give it the benefit of the doubt, if you had an amplifier that had some skinnier traces, you could beef the traces up, but you're not giving it more power, really. Yeah, there's not too many options with that. I do know on Class AB amplifiers, if you really wanted to get finicky, and the drive circuit will support it, you can parallel output pairs, as long as you have the resistors and the complementary circuitry to go along with that. But your power supply also has to support it. So for car audio amplifiers, when we're using a set of 4 transistors here, there's really no getting any boosted output. But if you're making your own pro audio amplifier and you had a huge toroidal transformer that's bringing in your mains and it's way overrated, and you had a good capacitor bank, then yeah, I suppose you might be able to take apart your pro audio amplifier and find some spots to add some output transistors. But you're asking for a bunch of extra stuff that you don't want to get into. I mean, as far as, even if I were to want, like example, if I were to try to add some of these, let's say I wanted to add another 3 and 3 transistors. You have to set the board traces out so you don't have crosstalk. There's even, in some of the stuff, parallel trace lengths and all kinds of stuff. So you're not just wiring wire leads over and sticking transistors over here. You could do it as like a hack mod, but it doesn't work like that in the real world. Yeah, that's true. You can, yeah, 100% true. You can drive these, some of the unregulated boards, I guess, 16 or 18 volts if you were careful with your caps and everything. But at some point in time, if you're not watching it, you're not watching all kinds of different factors. Yeah, you're gonna end up in a conundrum. Let's see how I can get this thermal pad off here. Trying to tuck the towel underneath here to give it some support, and that way the circuit board's not scraping against the aluminum casing as much as I can help it. I'm careful not to gouge or scratch the back of this transistor. The transistor is smooth for a reason. It's to make the good thermal conductivity. Now, if you wanted to be crazy, I guess somebody could take these and polish all the back of these transistors with 3000 grit and get the surface really smooth. There's actually a process of polishing metal, and you can touch the metal together and twist it a little bit, and the surfaces are so smooth it will lock together with no adhesive or no other mechanical bond. I don't know the whole science behind it, I just know that is possible. Yeah, these thermal pads have definitely seen better days. I don't know if this power supply section was just ran hot continuously. I do know the pads were of a different color on the power supply side here, so I'm going to assume that's because they needed to be of a different grade or a different caliper for holding up with the heat. Hey Strictly Amps, how's it going? I appreciate you swinging by, and we're just doing a little cleaning up here on the Kicker 200 SI, trying to redo some thermal pads. These ones have dried out pretty bad. We'll end up cleaning up the case before we put it back together. Nothing too crazy, just a good start for the live stream. Just gotta dip your feet in the water at some point, so. At least with this, I know I didn't have to order any parts or wait. I don't have a huge part selection yet. I do have quite a few, but a lot of my parts are for the older amplifiers in Class AB. I started the Class AB repair a long time ago, and over the last couple of years, I've been picking up the Class D stuff more and more. Yeah, Todd, I always enjoy watching your videos, man. I always learn a whole bunch every time. Very knowledgeable. I thought about doing some part-time electrical stuff, actual like residential electrical work, getting with a company. I have talked with a few electricians as well, but they tell me that the board level repair stuff's a lot less work. If I know how to do the board level repair, there's a lot more benefits in just doing board level repair than having to run around and run wires all day. A lot of people told me that I'd get bored just doing the same thing over and over. Once you learn a circuit, you're just duplicating it for each room or each leg. My stuff's getting there. It's getting there. It's on there pretty good. Get some more paper towel and try to clean that off, and then we'll end up applying thermal paste. Somebody recommended a paintbrush to apply thermal paste. Oh, look at that. My room's messy, but hey, we'll go back to the normal view. My GoPro messed up. I got a bunch of stuff all over the workroom, yes. But anyway, it happens. Bunch of amps in the tool cart. Let's see if we can go back there. Happy now? Not yet. Let's see. I have to figure that out. There we go. That's better. I'm not sure why he jumps out. It's an older GoPro, but every now and then it has a mind of its own. It is what it is. Boxes of electronics. I might make a video cleaning one of the larger mixers that a mixer console, Pro Audio mixer console that somebody gave to me. It's a 24 channel. The thing would barely fit on this desk, so I'll end up probably having to do that outside or in the kitchen or something. It's about 4 to 6 feet long. Yeah, Todd, I thought about getting into the electrical field just part-time, just so I could learn more. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that you have to take into account when you're working on circuits with hundreds of amps or thousands of amps. Also on the high voltage stuff, you don't even have to, some of the high voltage stuff that comes in off the poles, you could be centimeters away, inches away, and that stuff will still just arc and spark you, reach out and grab you. I don't know about all that stuff enough to work on it, but I've watched my fair share of videos and like to learn what I can. I don't ever intend to go ahead and grab anything off the pole or anything crazy like that, but it's good to know, and you can always reference that stuff down for a smaller scale. Well, that camera's got a mind of its own tonight, but oh well, this is what it is. We'll leave it there for now. We'll leave it there until it messes up. A lot of extra debris down in here we'll try to get out. Yeah, it's getting there, little by little. Now before I go crazy and start applying thermal paste and get it all messy, I'm going to go ahead and cut some strips of thermal paste. We're going to clean the casing up and clean the board up. I'll figure the GoPro out at some point in time. It heard me talking about it. It's all good. It just has better the image quality than any of the webcams I have. All the webcams that I seem to use, they lag. They don't pick up the circuit boards very good. So, and the USB is connected to a charge port. The video is going through an HDMI capture card, so I'm not sure why it's giving me a hard time. It's not like the computer's trying to control anything. These scissors are a little messed up, but it's okay. We might need another thermal pad, so we'll pull one out. This amplifier design reminds me a lot of the old school electronics. They had multiple doors or hinges. Some of the old Sony video cameras had a hinge that would come off the side so you could access the different panels and test and tune everything while it was still functioning. I'm just dusting this off a little bit. Nothing looks too far out of place here, so we'll clean it up. No corrosion on the inside. It's fairly good design. Wow, 12K. That's definitely off a line. That's probably commercial. I think residential, the poles in the neighborhood are 7,200, I think. There's a lot of safety precautions with that, though. Everything is by the book. You make sure all the conductors are bonded to ground. They have different clips and stuff. There's all kinds of. I know of it, but not enough to touch it. That had to be for a factory or something. I know in some of the larger factories, they have a lot of large capacitors and different stuff to work on the power factor correction. All the like the conveyor belts and all the motors turning on and off at one time will cause the, what is it, the amperage and the apparent amperage, or the something, the load and the apparent load, to shift the phase of the 60 hertz. I don't know too much about that. Todd, you probably heard about that or read about that before, but I don't know too much about that. I don't do it every day, so. Yeah, these are a little flaked. I don't know if this got hot or if the enamel coating's old on these. That I wouldn't be able to tell. It is a little flaky on here. It may have experienced heat, but I don't see any signs of heat around the circuit board. Circuit board looks good. Grab the thermal paste real quick and we'll get back to town. First time with the paintbrush, we'll see how it goes. Now I feel like an artist. Yeah, a little bit of time, but it's 100% acceptable. Just gotta learn how much to grab. It seems like you gotta dip the brush in just the right amount. It sure beats using my finger. I just keep the brush clean a little bit. I still got some thermal paste all over me. This stuff's a menace. And if somebody you don't like, you just stick some of this on the door handle and boom, good to go. No, don't try that. What style of amplifier? This is class AB, Todd, I believe, if that's what you're asking. It looks like it's got the pre-drive circuitry down here. One ribbon cable to bring the signal over. Some miscellaneous power for the pre-drive. Oh, it's got nice caps. I'm sorry, resistors. I think these are 1%, but the bias, left and right, DC bias probably there. Processing, I guess it'd be like chemical processing or any industrial processing, I guess. It could be waste processing. I know some of the water pumps are large. When I was a kid, one thing that absolutely amazed me was as a field trip when I was young, growing up in Michigan, we went to the Great Lakes water pumping plant, and I don't recall why, but they pump water out the Great Lakes through these huge tubes. And we went into this big area, and they had a pool. In the center of the pool, they had 3 large pump motors. These pump motors were the size of a house, and they had 3 of them for redundancy. And that's what the main one that pulled the lead from the lake. And they were absolutely massive. I remember big bus bars coming off the top of them, and they were submerged in the pool. I'm not sure why they were submerged, but if I remember correctly, I was very young, maybe 8, 10 years old. I remember they were submerged in the pool. Probably for cooling, I would assume. I do know that they're very odd amp. I do know that up there in Michigan, there's a lot of older industrial stuff, older hydroelectric power plants, and a lot of manufacturing plants. Yeah, and some of that that high voltage stuff, I've watched a few tests in regards to cable hold downs, because when some of those when some of those large AC power wires have a direct short just for a few seconds before the fuse or the breaker trips, all the wire will move in the case and the service trays. I've seen the wire, one demonstration where the wire just whipped around the whole shop, and it was just from the magnetic induction induced from the high current inside the wires at that voltage. I thought that was absolutely crazy. So I guess you have certain procedures to fasten those cables down as well. not just the terminals, but the actual cable itself. It's always cool to learn stuff. I guess 12 volts, the voltage isn't really high enough, I guess, to throw out that much magnetic field unless the amperage is extremely high. Now, do you have to start with residential electrical, or can you just hop right into doing like an apprenticeship with commercial electric with the bigger stuff? Because I mean, residential electric, yes, it is nice, but I feel like it's just there's not too many things that you're going to experience in residential electric that I learned from per se. I'm sure I learned code and different stuff like that, but I feel like the commercial electric I might learn more about, like the three-phase, the motor drivers and overcurrent protection devices, all that good stuff. I feel like that might be more beneficial than residential electric, but I could be wrong. I don't know if you have to jump into that or not right away. My scissors must be bent because every one of these came out crooked. And those scissors are no better, so we'll use what we got. My high school physics project, I took a bunch of computer power supplies apart. Probably 20 or 30 of them, and each of them have two 200 volt capacitors inside of them for the SMPS, switch mode power supply. And I harvested a bunch of them and put them in a Tupperware container. And then I took a strobe from the top of a school bus, and that gave me 12 to 400 volts, or about 360 volts if I recall. And I charged the capacitors with that strobe controller. And then I used thyristors, I think they were at the time. They latched when you gave them some voltage, and I used that as a bunch of them together. No heatsink because it was just a pulse current, but a whole bunch of them together, like 10 of them. I used that as my switch, and I made a coil gun for a high school physics project. I ended up using like I think 16 or 14 gauge enamel wire. I just wrapped different coils. I didn't have no calculations at the time. I just kept wrapping coils until it worked right. But I could shoot through an apple with a little 1/4 inch by 1 inch iron slug. I could lob the bullet about 100, 125 feet just in an arch. It was pretty unique. Okay, so you do have to use quite a few. Okay, I got you. Yep. I was wondering about that. They want to make sure you know what you're doing before you hop into the big boy stuff, probably. Yeah, zip ties. Do you guys use the metal zip ties for that? I know zip ties are. I know I've seen some people bicker over zip ties being NEC approved or not, but I guess in the right conditions, the zip ties are 100% NEC approved. I know there's different load capacities and all that stuff. I installed security cameras with a company for a while, and we went out and did some commercial jobs. And the electrical crew there, I remember getting called back to label all of our wires with orange tape because our wires were okay, but the electrical crew, there was a drop ceiling getting installed, and I guess they didn't have the proper wire that you spin on the metal beams and pull down. So they just got some wire they used to tie the rebar. And the inspector realized the wire wasn't the right wire, and they had to go back through and refasten all their wires and everything hanging from the ceiling because the fastener wire that they used wasn't listed as applicable, I guess, from my understanding. So I remember growing up with that, and that being, or I remember when I was growing up working that job, I remember dealing with that for a little while, just going back and have to use the orange plastic tape just tied to all of our wires. I am going to go ahead and see about ordering these. I haven't had a need to have transistor pads like this before, so this will be on the list of stuff to get. Talking about a Tesla coil, here we'll pull. I didn't enamel coat it, so it spun, but I tried and I snapped the wire. I got to make a better turning rig, but I don't know the equations yet. I don't know all that stuff. I'm not too good with the math, but I have played with it a little bit. I have the neon sign transformers. I got a couple of them that don't have the spark protector in it, the older style. A little bit. Yeah, you can buy the kits, I think, can't you? I think you can buy the kits. I think you're correct, yeah. If that's what you're talking about in regards to AliExpress. They also have something else I want to try. It's a plasma tweeter. Just uses the same effect as a lightning bolt, how it heats the air up to create sound. I want to try to play with one of those as well. So, what kind of got me going into this amp repair stuff, or more just audio circuitry in general. When I was in middle school, I had a knack for finding the old tube TVs on the side of the road, and I had dial-up internet at the time. I would, because I lived out in the country, I would go on Google and Google every single integrated circuit chip in there. And once I got better at it, I'd be able to just follow traces and look at it and say, oh, that's the amplifier chip. And I desoldered that amplifier chip off. And before I was able to get to Radio Shack and buy little perforated circuit boards, I would just flip that circuit chip upside down and a little bit of super glue and glue it to a piece of cardboard, and then go to town dead bug style and just start soldering all the little components. And I was probably 10 or 12 at the time. And when I first started plugging them in, I'd call my parents out. I'd bring them out in the kitchen and say, hey, I don't want to get zapped. And I never plugged them directly in the wall. We always used little 5-volt or 12-volt wall warts, the old power supplies for power. But I started messing with that. I'm in Orlando, Florida, down here in Florida. I'm actually only just about an hour away from Cardi and Cardi. I've been meaning to get in touch with him. I've just been doing a bunch of other stuff. I also at home here, I also do custom subwoofer boxes, fiberglass, LED lighting, custom doors, all that fancy car audio junk, blah blah blah. I just try not to advertise that too much. It's usually just by word of mouth. That stuff's more expensive. You know, most people just bug you for the quote and don't follow through. So with the word of mouth on that, it's all they know what they know the work beforehand and they know what's going on. Most people off the streets don't understand that it's a few days doing fiberglass, a lot of sanding, a lot of paint, a lot of stuff like that. So they just think, oh look, 6 speakers in the door. You know, they pay $50 a pair for speakers, and they want a whole custom fiberglass door built for a price that's not economical. So I usually just do word of mouth with that stuff. But I do have the CNC machine. Oh, not bad, not bad. I got family in Michigan, so I drive back through quite a bit there. Atlanta is a nightmare if you pick the wrong time. I have a CNC machine that I haven't calibrated perfect yet, but the hopes will be when the CNC machine's set up, it does cut full 4x8 sheets of wood. I'll be able to do my designs and then just press print and have that go at it while I'm working on other stuff. I'm going to put this to the side and we're going to get the amplifier casing out here. I'm going to go ahead and clean this a little bit. I'm just going to use alcohol on the paint on the brush here. Get a little bit more on there. Yeah, I have, when I go up there to visit family, sometimes I take a boat or a trailer for the different toys and whatnot, depending on the year. And then I drive a truck with the camper on the back in the pickup bed, and man, I'll tell you, there'll be like 6 lanes of traffic, and I'll be over here minding my own business, and somebody wants through, and they cut lanes so quick there, faster than I have seen. Florida's got pretty bad driving, but the Atlanta driving I feel is worse than Florida. I try to plan that for 3 in the morning, passing through there, and you still got somebody that speeds at 3 in the morning on those little rocket bikes right by. But it's just got to plan around and work with it. Okay, I'll have to check that area out. I have family up in North Carolina as well. I think we go a little bit farther east when we head up there, but I'll have to check that out, man. You have a shop, or do you do it from home? I do this stuff from home. I have worked at quite a few different audio shops, but a lot of the audio shops down here have seemed to have problems, either financially or manager-wise. From the ones that I've worked at, there's been a few that shut down recently, and a few other ones that like to keep the cars for extended periods of time, whether they don't have proper contracts, or the customers don't pay on time, or whatever the case may be, or they don't whatever the case may be. But I've seen all kinds of stuff down here, so I try just to keep going for myself. Now I'm not doing this. I do remodels as well. Just kitchen models, bathroom models, all the drywall painting, all that good stuff. I had a better paintbrush around here. It disappeared on me. This will reach. It's okay. My dad went to Rockford Fosgate Technical Institute in the 90s, RTTI, out in Tempe, Arizona. So when I was growing up as well, I got into a box of car audio probably at the age of 10 or 12 and started messing with that. My grandpa used to repair TVs, and also worked on making the sintered, I believe it's called sintered metal products, where you take powdered metal and press them in smaller and smaller dies. He worked on with the founders on that, if I'm not mistaken, very, very early on. So I got a pretty good start on this stuff here. Other kids would get like the roller blades for Christmas, and I'd get the electric kits with the little fan motors and 9-volt batteries. Okay, yeah, same thing, man. Do this on the side as well. Yeah, strictly the same stuff. I'm hoping to get this full time. I'd like to be able to just sit at home all day and mess with this. The car audio stuff's fun, but I've done it for a number of years of just sanding doors, and people, sanding different projects, building different stuff. People go to shows and blow the equipment, destroy it. Buddy thinks they can tune it louder, so Buddy tunes it louder, and instead of tuning it, he turns off high-pass filters, and now the equipment's cooked and all that good junk. So I'm trying to get out the audio stuff as far as smaller custom stuff. I don't mind building for specific people, but everyday audio stuff just is trying to get out of it eventually. I like this. I like the circuit board repair much better. Everybody and their cousin and their brother installs the audio stuff, so this is more of a niche job. I feel like it's be more beneficial. Not everybody can do this, so it'd be good to learn and keep it moving. I still need to work on the Fosgate and JL amps as far as learning that the Fosgate, some of those are just a pain with the ceramic circuit boards, and I have the hot air gun, and I have a big 200 watt iron or 250 or whatever, old school, so you get those the transistors off isn't too big of a deal for me, but the topology on those Class ABs can be cumbersome. Don't want to scratch that. I'm trying to see what we can do to get this cleaned out a little better. Man, I wish I had a basement though down here. And up north, my parents have one in Michigan and family and everything, but down here no basements. I miss the basements. A lot of space, good for workshop. Temperatures cool most of the time. Oh yeah, that's another thing, man. In Florida, it's hard to sand and stuff inside. You gotta have some kind of airflow with all the fiberglass, and in the summer times get very hot down here, but it's all good. There's quite a few audio shops in this area that, quite a few audio shops and just audio in general in the Florida area. I'm sure Georgia's probably pretty good with that as well. So I'm kind of lucky in regards to where I'm located at. Yeah, the amp storage. I don't. So for me right now, I don't have a crazy amount of parts in stock. I do want to. I'll probably end up talking to Todd here in the next few days. Here, I don't want to bug him on a Sunday, but I'll probably talk to him in the next few days here about possibly getting some parts from him as well, or talking to him about the parts that he does readily stock. I do have the pull-out drawers here. I could go through and name some of the transistors I have, and I'll open the other drawer here and go through some of the surface mount components and whatnot. But I do need to get more parts in stock. I find that ordering the parts and waiting for the parts is one of the most annoying processes. Then you're stuck having the stuff stuck around. I do know the name says strictly amps, but do you also mess with any other audio? Do you install your own stereo, I guess, of course, but do you install amps or do any custom builds or boxes or anything? I can build boxes, I can design some stuff with some computer programs, but there's definitely people out there that have a lot more knowledge than me when it comes to designing stuff. But when it comes to building the actual boxes, I have most of the tools, and my dad built houses, so I got lucky. Growing up, I had all the tools to use and all the scrap wood to play with, so I got pretty good experience with the building side. Yep. 100%. Yep. Do you, Todd? Thank you. I'll definitely contact you about the different parts and whatnot once I'm done cleaning this heatsink out the best I can. I don't know where my other brush went. I'll look on the floor here in a second. I'll go over some of the smaller parts I have. I don't have a huge variety. I did recently fix a good handful of amps that sucked up the last of my bulk items. Heck, I might even pull out some of the drawers of some of the amplifier projects that I have that I've been working on and I might need some help on. I haven't really played with too many of the ones in the drawers. I've been mainly waiting for parts. I contacted Taramps directly, and then when they were sending the parts over, I did pay for them and stuff. My email mucked up, and I didn't get parts sent here. FedEx called me a few days later, and I didn't have the tracking number or anything, so FedEx couldn't help me. I missed their call, so when I called them back, they asked me for a bunch of information I did not have, and so I'll have to contact them again and get the show on the road in a few. Where the brush goes, so hoping to find the bigger brush, but no. So we'll see if we can just. This looks pretty clean inside here so far. All right, we'll pull this back up. Try to get an image of what we're working with here. There and there, okay. You order parts every 3 months, Todd. How many parts do you order at a time? That's got to be in the, I'd almost like to think that's in the tens of thousands of dollars a range of parts. I could be wrong, but I guess it depends on how many of them you go through, but I do know the bulk pricing does help a little bit. Do you have a spreadsheet set up for that yet? Because I have not set up a spreadsheet yet, but I have been thinking about setting up a spreadsheet for all the different parts that the amplifiers use and everything. My father-in-law is really good with the Excel, so I'm trying to see about setting that up, and that way if I'm working on an amp, I can just hyperlink it, figure out all the cross references, all that good stuff. Oh, that's not terrible for parts then. I was thinking it'd be way more. When you buy in bulk, it definitely has to help. I know they nab you on shipping every now and then too for buying smaller individual part counts at a time. Looks like we're turning amplifier into a Bob Ross session. So you got to stroke the thermal paste down to the heatsink in the horizontal direction. No, I'm not. I don't watch Bob Ross enough to know how to do this. Just sounded like a good joke. Probably could look for a little bit bigger brush next time for this. I have to go to the craft store and see what they got going on. Yeah, I worked on a little enclosed trailer today, a 16-foot, turning it into a little, like a little camper style for some friends. It has 3 solar panels on top, little solar controller, 30 amp, 110, ship to shore power, if you will, but it's RV power. I just like using the marine locking connectors. It's got a little 30 amp, 12 volt power supply for all the 12 volt stuff. I'll do a little video of that once I get it up and going. I do have pictures of that on my personal page, but not on the business page. Trying to see where all we're going to line up at here. 2, yep, not there, yep. All right, looks good there. Proceed. Yeah, it'll be time to get some new thermal paste for me as well soon. This one's going to be, looks like about half left. Yeah, some of the chemical components, not as far as thermal paste. Some thermal paste is very expensive, but I know there's some dielectric coolant for welders and electrical devices that's extremely expensive, on the tune of like $100 to $200 a gallon for some of those products. But that's all big company, 3M and all the DuPont. Yeah, I just thought about, yeah, I'm not a software guy either, but my father-in-law does know how to do the Excel stuff, and I thought about talking with him. It'd be super nice to have a system set up where you just type the amplifier in and brings you up the information. He says you can do all the little hot links and all the good stuff on there, pull up the parts. Most of the amplifiers you wouldn't need it for is like, I'd really like to get in with a company, even if it's part-time or just starting on something, doing amp repairs as well, because I feel like it'd be consistent, the same set of amplifiers, for lack of a better term. Like the Turamps 3K, 5K, 8K, 12K, they're all about the same. They're the same topology for the most part, from my understanding. It's just scaled up. Once you start getting yourself involved in fixing all these different brands, then you really have to scale yourself out to a bunch of different parts and a bunch of different topologies and a bunch of different, different things, for lack of a better term. I don't know how to explain that better, but pretty sure you guys get what I'm getting at. I haven't bothered to play with the JL stuff yet. I do know some of that power supplies, the voltage follows the audio input signal, or something to that extent. I haven't played with that yet. I would like to eventually mess with them. I don't feel like I'd like to offer that as a service at all until I get more experience with the JL audio and the Rockford Fosgates. Now, with that being said, though, there are certain cases where that's no problem at all. If the JL audio amplifier functions, it's just the RCAs are having some connection issues because the box wasn't mounted and the box slid over. Or if the switches are dirty and the switches need to be replaced, power supply connectors melted or something, yeah, that's not terrible. I don't mind doing that stuff on those amps, but need some more practice before I want to offer my services to customers for the JL and Fosgate stuff. All right, so we're going to test this guy soon here. See how many of the thermal pads stayed in their spot. Hopefully we can just one time go and be good. Let's see. I'm sure these wires probably bent easier back in the day, but now they're doing what they're doing, and that's it. Look at that. Good, good. Get a few of these clamped on here to keep this board in place. I'm only going to snug these down by hand. We'll come back and tighten them all later. We want to make sure everything lines up before we tighten anything down. I don't know the torque specs on these. I do know like a lot of that stuff that you guys do with the electrical stuff needs to be torqued to a certain spec, and then you need to wiggle the conductor and then torque it again, I think. I don't know the whole shebang on that, but it makes sense. Definitely makes sense. You want to double check. You don't want loose connection when you're dumping that much juice and voltage through it. Yeah, it's true. The topology, there's way too many different topologies. Right now, the Brazilian stuff's easy for me in the Class AB. I shouldn't say easy, but I'm more versed in it, more skilled in it. I do want to expand, but that JL and Fosgate stuff, that'll be more like buying broken amplifiers, and then in the evening I play with them. So if I toast something, that's on me. I'm not trying to toast a customer's equipment. But that's where you got to start. You got to start with yourself and learn. And I don't feel like I haven't found any classes or school for this per se. You could take a whole electrical engineering course, and they're not really going to teach you. They'll teach you fundamentals of Class AB and Class D, but they're not going to dabble into any of the actual topologies, from my understanding. Yeah, I think Todd had posted a video about that. I think it was labeled "Check this before you put time and money into repair of to amps." I think. I got a real old dinosaur of an amplifier I might try to repair at some point. It's the it's a Bell Si200, I think it is. It's an old tube amplifier. A single channel 30 watt. I think it was used for when they melted the church bells down for medals for war efforts. They put the amplifier in the church with a few speakers up top the bell tower, and that was what they used to make the noise. Six V6 or 6L6s in the output section, I forget. It needs to be recapped. I'm not sure how expensive the recaps will be, but I know finding the 400 and 600 volt capacitors are a little different than finding all the low voltage stuff that everybody uses for all the digital and the new stuff nowadays. Get a 501? Okay. I will look into the 501 for sure. Thank you, Todd. Are those JLs have anything debranded? Are they debranded or etched off or anything crazy inside of them? Because I guess the first step would be get one and then open it up and check the different type of ICs and pull the data sheet up for the ICs and see what everything's doing inside. See the purpose of the different parts. Alright, we'll clean this little card up next. I am going to go ahead and zap a little bit of contact cleaner down in these contacts. Even though they look good, I am going to zap just a hair in there and try to prevent anything, eliminate anything. going to have to find one amp screw. These are flatheads. I don't have flathead grub screws this style. I'm going to have to order bulk grub screws. I have bulk Allen grub screws, but I don't believe this size. I think they're a little bit smaller for the remote turn on, or different unit. While we're here, remember I said we're going to clean the amplifier. We're not just playing with it. We're going to try to actually get this functioning again and give it some life. I'm not going to take anything apart and powder coat it or anything. Check the little Zener diode next to the IC. If there's 300 ohms or about, there is damage. Okay, that makes sense. You know what? Do I have a 3K in here to check? We'll get up to that in a minute. I have a burnt base 3K maybe. We'll look at it in a second. We'll pull it out in a minute. See if I remember what you're talking about and what the video showed. I might not remember everything, but we'll take a peek. Close this back up. I don't think I'm missing anything. If I am, we'll find out with a bang or a pop. No, I hope not. We should be good. Nothing was even repaired here. We just put some new thermal paste on it and got it back going. We'll test it out with a power supply here in a second. Let's see where the RCAs are. I should have some RCAs right around here. Yep, they're right over there. I normally want to be using the big clumsy, but I don't have a long enough straight. Oh, am I lying? Do I have a long enough straight Allen hung right up there? No, it's too small. Okay. They're all out in the garage. Okay, Todd, that's a different IC than what you're talking about. Okay. You're talking about, in the video, is labeled IC9 on that 3K, and that's for the remote turn on, is what you're saying, right? Is that the one that deals with the PWM for the power supply, maybe? I'll have to reread the messages. Maybe I'm reading them wrong. Let's see. On those Taramps, I don't remember the part numbers off my head. I have to look at a board for me to remember the places on those. I'm going to go through and clean up a little bit of the thermal paste that decided it wanted to go on the little crack here where we're clamping the case together. I'd rather get that out the way now than when it clamped. Just a little thermal paste that was right in here. Yep. Because we won't be able to get to that too easy once it's clamped. Sounds healthy. Yeah, since you guys are talking about the 3K, let me see. I have the base 3K. Yes, it's got extra resistors on it right now for testing. It's got burnt up quite a bit. Quite a few traces got let go down there. So, let's see, it's a little messy, and I got thermal paste all over myself again because I wasn't paying attention, but let's see. Which one are we talking about here now? Talking about the little guys over here. Am I incorrect? In regards to, I know we're hopping the topic. Hang on. Let's see if I can't get this camera zoom back in though. There we go. Hey Todd, thank you, man. We'll catch you around. I appreciate you stopping by. We'll pull this back out a little bit later. Maybe I'll do another video on it. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's talking about something around this side, but I will actually go ahead and rewatch that video. I think I only dabbled through parts of that video. I'm going to go ahead and stick this back in the unit for now. This is almost ready to get powered up though. Definitely almost ready to get powered up. And a little 3K bass blew up pretty good. Took a bunch of traces out, and I'm sure it stunk the customer's car up for a little while. Gonna have to pull out some non-copyright music, that way we don't, I don't know, I think if you're doing a live stream you're okay with copyrighted music, but I could be incorrect, so we'll pull up some non-copyrighted music for the test, just so we don't have to worry about anybody wanting money. Uh-oh. See, the tooth there doesn't look too good, so we'll try to clean that up a little bit with some contact cleaner as well. Gotta get some of that oxidization off of there. Use a little bit of sandpaper here, just a hair on these tabs. There we go. Clean that back off. I want to check the switches here. Make sure they're not hard to move. Nope, okay. Nope. Oh, seems to be good. I'm going to put some cleaner down in these guys though, just as a reinsurance, making sure there's no oxidization. I've seen a little bit of funk on the terminal there, so I want to try to make sure that these switches don't have anything in it if I can help it. A lot of times when you got an amplifier that works but it's just intermittent and scratchy, the knobs or the volume potentiometers need to be cleaned. I don't remember what's high pass or low pass on this. We'll just leave it like that, and that's where it's going to be. We'll see what it wants to do. If it wants to function with bass or highs or mids. Go ahead and grab my test leads down here because it's getting close to time. Clean up these leads real quick. These are usually just tossed inside, but we'll clean them up. 2 seconds. Not really the appropriate wire strippers, but it'll do. We're going to go ahead and get the ground installed first. Let's see, is this marked? Yes, it is. Alright, that's a good sign so far. Looks like I'm going to have a little jumper wire for the remote turn on. I just want to get some speaker wire here while we're at it for the speaker output. Alright, we'll see if she powers up. See what we get. If we get a magic puff of smoke, if we get a light. Alright, we do have our red light on there. We'll turn the gain down. I'm going to disconnect the remote turn on lead for now and wire in a test lead for the speakers real quick. Start with this channel here. I'm not sure if this is left or right channel, but we'll find that out. I'm not sure if you're talking about this guy or not, but we'll clean him up a little bit more. It looks like the computer wants to do some updates or whatever it wants to do. Yeah, this just has some kind of debris or something on it. We'll try to get a little bit of that off as much as we can. What's it want? What's the camera want? Uh-oh. Turn that back on. See if we can't get him back on. Sorry, guys. I know we still got voice here. Let me see if we can get the camera back on here for the remainder of the episode. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Guess it, like I said, it has a... Oh, man. It has a mind of its own. That might be the end of the episode, but no, we're going to try to get him going again. If not, we'll swap over to the other one. I got the idea here. 1 second. Not stopping this show yet. Let's go over here. What is it? This one here? Scope. Yep. I'm going to open up OBS and make that big. 1 second, guys. Didn't want to participate, so we'll flip it over here. And we'll make that bigger. There we go. Something like that. See if I got some tape or something, and we'll fix that up real quick. Oh, where's the electrical tape at? Another drawer. I kind of want to finish this video with this amp kicking on, so we might just leave this here. It's not the best quality, but it's gonna have to be for the last bit here. Try to get some wires out the way. That GoPro usually doesn't give me any issues as often as what it's doing now, but anyway, we'll finish the video with the other camera. That's just a quick fix that I can think of off the top of my head. I tried setting that GoPro up and it didn't want to be set back up, so we'll leave it like that. Yeah, I'll pull them back off. Everything, it looks like everything is touched down on here. If I have to, I'll hit it with the reflow, with the hot air gun. It's actually very odd. If I look close, it looks like the silk screen was put on after. This camera's horrible. I apologize. It looks like the silk screen was put on after the solder for somehow or some reason. I could be completely mistaken, but that's what it looks like there. Let's see, I'm going to bring my speaker leads over, my test speaker leads. We'll get these guys hooked up here. I'll mess with that GoPro a little bit more in the morning, see if I can't get that thing to stay. I don't know if it needs, if there's like a button combination to lock it from flicking out, or randomly when it wants to, it does its thing. Thought we were closer than what we are. Looking for the headphone to RCA cable for this guy because the Bluetooth on the radio is not going to want to cooperate when everything's on. It's a fun life. Let's see if we got it right here. I'll be back in 1 second. I'm going to run and grab a... Oh, yep, I do got to run and grab it. I'm going to run and grab a cable real quick. Take half a second. Thought I had everything. Didn't have everything yet. Here we go. Not sure which side's supposed to be input, but we will we'll try one or the other. It's all good. We're gonna go to no copyright music. That way we don't have any discrepancies. Turn the volume down. See here now. We can get some sound output of this real quick after we cleaned everything. Yep. Alright. That's good. Now I'm going to move over to the other channel. I'm going to disconnect this and we're going to move the speaker lead over to the other channel. I am going to order some new screws for these. These screws are rusty. We're going to go ahead and get some new screws. Everything else in the circuit board looked good, so I'm not sure why the screws appeared to have problems. Could just be humidity. Alright, we'll check this out again, see if we get some signal. Yep. Cool. Well, that was a successful clean. Everything went as planned. Didn't have too many issues except for this camera here, but that's not really an issue with the amplifier. That's just more an issue with my live stream, so it's good to go. I think that's about it for the evening. I'm going to go ahead and get off the stream here in just a few minutes, and we'll try to work on checking this camera out. And thank you everybody for stopping by. Thanks Strictly Amps. I appreciate you swinging by as well. And I know Todd left, but I got to thank him and give a big shout out for him as well. Also Sam from Bear Vids and Cardi. I want to give a shout out to everybody. Keep the community alive. I mean, there's not too many people that do the repairs and the tech stuff, so I appreciate everybody stopping by, and I appreciate everybody taking their time to talk with me and help me learn the little questions and whatnot, the stuff I do have.